Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Wednesday the 5th of June. So the Fed man Powell suggested that they would do whatever they can do to ensure that growth continues in the US, but didn't actually suggest definite they'll be cutting rates, although as I've said before, a couple of rates are probably priced in this year. So we'll see how things go, but seems like it was good enough to cheer the markets up for a while at least. Looking at the euro, well, didn't really make a lot of difference to the euro at that time, and it's still in the range of before the event. It still sits in that that range at the moment. Actually, on this daily here, well, it wasn't daily at all. It's on the hourly there. I drew a little wedge pattern, which it's currently sitting in here. It looks like it's really on the road to nowhere at the moment in terms of just pretty much sideward. It may even walk out of that sideways. Daily pivot sits below. We could get a squeeze out of this movement, and it may move a reasonable amount. Still looking to see if it pulls back towards this 60-50 sort of area, possibly. A break of the highs there could suggest a continuation. So really, what I'd be looking for here, I think it's so tight with not a lot of pips really. A break is perhaps break down that 21 and through to 34 gives us a bit of a free fall down. Maybe down to its S1 there, passing through the 50, we'll see. To the upside, well, by the time it's done it will probably be exhausted, so not a lot on the upside for me. The pound, well, the pound's made a new high this morning. It's pitched up, pushed in through a new high, and not managed to hold on to those gains. It's just come out on the dailies here and look at where we are. So yesterday, another solid day relatively for the pound. It does have potential to nip up and get that monthly pivot. At the moment, high lows, high highs. It's all looking pretty from that perspective. But well, when you come down to this time frame, well, again, high lows, high highs all the way through. It does have its daily pivot, which it may just draw down to. It did it yesterday, and then managed to rally quite nicely off of it. So may see similar today. We'll see. If it does it early enough, it's still got support sitting below. In fact, this trend line probably now I could drag it up a little bit here, and that may provide the sort of support for price action if it was to come down. At the moment, looks like there's a bit of dollar weakness going through these majority of these markets. He says majority because the yen's not doing too much at all. In fact, it's just consolidating where it is at the moment, which is probably not a great surprise. It's been benefiting when there's risk around, and instead of giving back some of that benefit now, it's consolidating, which I suppose is a solid thing. It may still have further downside to come on this yen, but for now, difficult one. Today, what it looks like it's done is put a series of high lows, higher highs, and then sort of spoiled that with a lower high. So a mess. Not a lot I can do with that. But it shows that people are not concerned about at the moment. The risk seems to be back on in terms of trading. Looking at the Aussie dollar, just take the top-down approach here. So Aussie dollar. Just managing to push through regardless of the potential of further cuts. It seems like there's all joy everywhere, and I think it really just shows a bit more weakness in the US dollar than strength in these other markets at the moment. As I said, in the big picture, we could be seeing a bit of a retracement or a bit of a turn in these markets, and I think that's what we're seeing at the moment. How far they'll go is another matter, but for now, most the dollar is showing, as I say, showing a bit of weakness across there. That may well change at some point and correct, but trade what we're seeing really. Aussie dollar struck around about its weekly R3 at the moment. That's a decent old move it's had there. But when you look at it now, coming down the time frames, a lot of these, you're just seeing the pound, the euro, the Aussie, all looking a bit weak this morning. I say weaker in terms of the current hourly bar there. Of course, the trend is still upwards. So it's already caught the daily pivot. My preference is for these to just really continue in their nice ranges, but perhaps we'll see a correction the other way now to the downside on some of these. But we'll see as it pans out this morning. Canadian dollar's finally gained a bit of strength as expected. Yesterday it really did continue down. It's actually didn't go much further than the sort of levels expected, but today it looks like it's already starting to break further. That could all change pretty quickly this morning. It's got some support where it's sitting at the moment. It's sitting in the 240, 500, and it's pretty close to that prior low from 2 weeks ago. Whether it will do much more, we'll see. But again, another one, and the lower highs, lower lows, beautiful trend line. Has got daily pivot untouched, which could drag it back. But like most of these markets at the moment against the dollar, it's dollar weakness right the way through there. So that's where we are there. S&Ps saw some glory yesterday. They saw a good corrective day there. We're just short now of the monthly pivot. It'll be interesting to see how it reacts to the monthly pivot, the 21. Obviously, Powell's statement was probably quite bullish for the equity markets from that perspective, but perhaps everyone's forgotten about the trade wars for a short while. But whatever, it's doing quite well for the market at this juncture. And what in for today? Well, I would be wary if it starts coming down, whether it pulls back towards its daily pivot. Of course, with that monthly pivot sitting above there, that's quite a draw for it in itself, and it's just sort of a almost bull flag sort of picture in terms of where it is at the moment. So could pitch up towards that way of break of the highs there. May see it pitch up into those levels and maybe beyond. So we may be seeing a bigger correction here, but my preference has been to sell the S&Ps quite a bit lately, and may shape up for something later this afternoon. We'll see. Right, that's pretty much it. News-wise today, well, we've already had the Australian GDP, which came in at 0.4, pretty much as forecast. Today we've got one of the Bank of England MPC members speaking. At 8:45, there's questions being asked there, so he could be asked things which could affect the pound. So 8:45, just watch out for that. We got the services PMI, important services PMI. We saw a contraction in the manufacturing earlier in the week. Services coming out today, if that was to be showing contraction, it would certainly soften the pound there at 9:30. So something to watch out for if you're trading the pound this morning. Later today, ADP non-farm payrolls, and that's pretty much it. And we've got services, US services later as well.